So, in today's video, we are reacting to chat history. Make sure you subscribe. As you can see, I am subscribed. Make sure we're going to hit that like button prematurely, like we always do, and history's serial killers that you've never heard of. I've not watched this yet. Let's see what this is all about. Because I like history, and this is something I've never heard of, so let's jump in.
So you really like serial killers, huh?
Yeah.
All right, well, here's some that you've probably never heard of.
I've heard a lot of things.
Oh.
Baba Anushka. Anushka? I'm butchering this. Anujika? Whatever.
Now, when you think of the term serial killer, you probably wiggle your brain towards figures like Jack the Ripper, Ted Bundy, or even Jonathan Wayne-Nathan Gacy.
Jonathan Wayne-Nathan.
But everyone knows about those guys. History has a myriad of murderers that have remained out of the spotlight. After all, humans have been going at each
Have we figured out who Jack the Ripper is? I feel like I've seen something recently where someone said that they discovered they knew who Jack the Ripper was. Or I might be thinking the Zodiac Killer. I'm not sure.
other in silly squabbles since the dawn of man. I say, your cock is bigger than mine. Have at you! Oh, you dumb bitch. But first, we have to ask
Yeah, if you guys aren't subscribed to Chat History, do yourself a favor. Subscribe.
ourselves,
Animation.
what
Animation. Simple. To the point. Beautifully executed.
exactly is a serial killer? Well, according to the FBI, the definition has shifted its criteria across the years with differing requirements for the number of victims, motives, and all that jazz.
It sounds like you're challenging them.
But the current definition as it stands is someone who forces at least 3 people to cash in their life insurance policies in 3 separate times or locations. Often
Joke's on them. I don't have life insurance. So don't come at me.
with a cooling or premeditation period in between. So with that out of the way, our first creature that meets this criteria is one Ana de Pistoia, more well known as Baba Anyoika. She was a
I was way off. What was that again?
criteria is one Ana de Pistoia, more well known as Baba Anyoika.
Baba Onyoka. Baba Onyoka. I'm not even going to try the accent. But Baba Onyoka.
She was a truly withering wicked witch back in the days of Yugoslavia, but before she was just a walking wrinkle, she was a babe in her heyday. Probably. But after an unfortunate encounter with an Austrian stud muffin who left her destitute, devastated, and diseased at the age of 20, young Anna became reclusive, finding solace in the study of medicine and chemistry. She became quickly consumed in the
So poisoning. Isn't it a thing? I might be getting my stats wrong, but isn't it a thing that when it comes to like not so much as significant others going after each other, but like women when they want to commit murder versus men when they want to commit murder, that men are making sure that they get the job done, but women like to do something more discreet. Like, so example, men will most likely shoot a guy or punch him to death or stabby stab. Whereas women are more likely to poison or do something else. I might be getting that wrong. Let me know down below.
world of medical treatments, both conventional and homeopathic. But after years of preparing potions and lotions in solitude, Anna's father stepped in and offered some advice. Medicine good, but baby is better. Go make baby. Many baby. And so, Anna was married off to a wealthy bachelor. A much, much older wealthy bachelor.
Seems to be a thing back in the day.
But the old
Don't even know if I want to say back in the day because it still seems to be a thing.
geezer was still able to please her, or at
I'm still trying to get a baby daddy or a sugar baby, sugar daddy. What?
Least achieve the biological functions required to put a baby in her belly 11 times. But since their genetic materials seem to be
That a lot.
made out of a wet tissue paper, 10 of the 11 children crossed over into the shadow realm before even reaching adulthood, with Anna's husband
That's just how it be back in the day. Gosh, 10 out of 11. Dear God. Hope those kids had life insurance.
trailing behind shortly after. With those eventful 20 years of her life shrinking into the distance of her rearview mirror, Anna returned to her studies, setting up her own chemistry lab in her now inherited estate.
I think the other reason why I like this channel so much, I mean, you hear the music in the background, Legend, Zelda, all that jazz. I mean, RuneScape too, with all this stuff. I've never played RuneScape. I always wanted to try. Haven't gotten into it. Let me know if I should. Yeah, Zelda stuff, A+. I love it.
She gained a reputation as a healer and herbalist in the local village, providing syrups, serums, and solutions to anyone in need. She could fix coughs and colds or mend bumps and bruises. This reputation gave her the name Baba Anyoika, as she was seen as the caring grandmother of the village. Her services did make her a pretty penny, enough to pay the bill.
So it was a good nickname. She sounds like a nightmare that you tell your children while they go to bed. I know it's Baba Yaga, but you know what I mean.
Bills and live a comfortable life. But getting on in her years in the 1920s, the 80-year-old reclusive woman's ambitions took a dark turn. She began to notice a pattern. Many of her returning customers were younger women that were victims of their marriages or their families. These women would confide in Anna about their
They might have a
experiences and
motive.
their traumas. So she offered a new product. A small swill of magic water that would fix their problem. This potion contained traces of
There we go. Fix their problem.
arsenic and other undetectable plant toxins that, when administered to the unknowing victims, would cause them to succumb to a slow death, usually passing within a week or two. While conversing with any interested customer,
A week or two? That's, I mean, might be convenient for her, but a week or two, that's, ew, I don't want to think about that.
she would gather pertinent information such as height and weight so she could calculate a proper dosage. But of course, this service wasn't free. A single potion could run you between 2,000 to 10,000 Yugoslav dinars, or roughly $600 to $3,000 in today's money. But if you were desperate,
I mean, that's doable. Just saying, I feel like you can upcharge that a little bit more.
enough, your life savings could save your life. It is estimated that between 50 to 150 men died as a direct result of Baba Anyoika's magic water. Now, when there's a bunch of husbands dropping like flies around a village, things are going to get suspicious. A few of the wives were interrogated, but no one would fess up to any crime. It wasn't until 1926 that things would turn sour. After selling a swig of the magic water to a husband and wife who were desperate to and succeeded in ridding themselves of an erratic, cruel, and mega wealthy family member, the police finally stepped in. Once a rich dude dies, then it's serious. The living
Makes sense. We as humans have barely changed.
members were arrested and interrogated until, finally, the wife caved and outed the unassuming Shaky Sr. as the mastermind behind all of the village's mysterious deaths. Anna was all, but the testifying defendants retaliated with a resounding, yeah, huh. Many of the village's new widows claimed they had no knowledge of the poison within the potions, and that instead, the old woman used black magic to kill them from afar.
Gaza is at a tipping point.
The now 91-year-old Baba Anyoika was formally arrested.
She was 91 when she got arrested. Yeah, I'd be good. I'd be good to retire at that point too.
arrested in 1929 and sentenced to 15 years of hard labor, or whatever hard labor the dusty old bitch could even perform. She was released just 8 years later at age 99 due to her
The low health. That's hilarious.
very obviously blinking health bar. She died shortly after her 100th birthday in 1938.
Wow, back then they just didn't straight up execute her. That's surprising. That is surprising. That was, I mean, that lady, she got her job done. Kind of impressed on that one.
If there's a way to game a system, you can bet your fat tits that the scummiest of the scum will find ways to take advantage of it. Next on our list is Amelia Dyer, one of the UK's most infamous serial killers and one despicable excuse for a human being. And you've probably never heard of her. Back in the day in 1800s Great Britain, unmarried mothers kind of got shafted by the government after getting shafted by their partners. You see, in 1834, the British government struggled to keep up with the ongoing costs of feeding and housing the lower class. So the government, acting like the
Oh, poor people. The thing that the government loves the most.
toilet that it was, decided to make that shit someone else's problem. It passed the Poor Law Amendment Act, a piece of legislature that completely overhauled the poverty relief system. It ultimately halted any government assistance to poor people.
Abolish absence of able-bodied poor, establish workhouse for basic food and shelter. Workhouses were intentionally undesirable. Power. So they're just making poor people's lives more miserable. Revised classification of quote-unquote poor, because everything works out in your favor. We can just change the definition of shit. Still provide relief for disabled and elderly. See, is not too bad.
Who were still deemed physically able to work. Only those who were otherwise incapable of work due to physical disability or old age qualified for financial relief. This act was proposed after identifying innumerable abuses of the old system, with taxpayer pounds going to individuals who treated it as a way of life rather than a temporary safety net.
It's almost like that's still happening today. We never change.
The entire thing was just a big ol' nudge, encouraging any able-bodied poor to get to earning their keep or, well, die. This hit especially hard for the demographic of poor women who bore illegitimate children. Baby daddies were now off the hook for child support, and these moms were now faced with an impossible choice. Either
Man, we need to bring these laws back. You know what I'm saying? I have no kids.
go to work to survive, or stay home with the children and starve. But this is where another industry began to take root. Baby farming.
Excuse me, what?
You mean like cute itty bitty babies sprouting from the earth? No, that's not how that works, pat pat pat. But these babies would end up in the ground. With loads of single mothers forced to work to barely scrape by and workhouses having a strict don't bring your child to work policy, many of these mothers opted for adoption in hopes that their children would be better cared for with a loving family or otherwise hospitable environment. And some of those did in fact exist, but others weren't so generous.
Please, sir, I want some more.
Baby farms were the last resort. These desperate mothers could have their child taken off of their hands, no questions asked, for a hefty one-time fee. In exchange, the little one would be fed, clothed, and provided shelter.
But I thought something was like legitimately like dripping from this shelf, like just onto that kid right there. Or it might be. I don't know what that looks like. Literally a dead cat.
Or at least, that was the hope. The harsh reality, though, was that some of these baby farms were a place of cruelty and torture. And this is where Amelia Dyer comes in. She was the ringleader of such an establishment. A widow, a mother, and a trained nurse, Amelia turned to baby farm
Capricorn, probably. As if I actually know what astrology is.
as a way to keep the candles on at night and a few biscuits on the table. And to her credit, she did initially provide legitimate care for the trembling little tykes. She actually had a long history as a caregiver, being responsible for her mentally ill mother when she was a child. But this responsibility and exposure to mental illness at such a young age took an apathetic toll on her, one that would fester and eventually manifest itself down the road, right about the time that she had a healthy supply of tumbling.
I love this setup. I'm pretty sure this is the school in Riften and Skyrim where you kill the literally the caretaker of all these kids at orphanage. Dark Brotherhood quest, if you know, you know. Anyway.
Toddlers hearing around. And that's when the deaths started. Many of the children that she took in began Final Fantasy fading away from various forms of neglect or starvation. But this was all
Still
part
has
of the plan.
crosshairs.
One less child is one less mouth to feed and one less financial burden to bear. After all, the payment was already received, so anything after that is just opportunity cost.
Okay, so the mothers pay these people to drop off their kids forever, say bye-bye. And it's only a one-time fee. So I feel like more people would have done whatever I'm assuming this direction of the story is going. Yeah, one-time feed makes no sense.
Beginning her baby farm in 1869, it took 10 years before anyone became
1869. Nice.
suspicious of her shady business plan. Local doctors took notice to the alarming number of deaths under her care and decided to intervene. Dyer was charged with neglect and sentenced to just 6 months of hard labor, with any remaining children taken from her care. But that wouldn't stop her. Shortly after her release and a few spells in a mental facility, Amelia waddled off to Reading to start from scratch, and it wouldn't be long before she refilled her inventory of children. Only this time,
I'm probably getting this wrong. Isn't this in Oblivion where the Dark Brotherhood is in Oblivion? I haven't played a lot of Oblivion, so I think it looks familiar. I'm probably getting that wrong.
things would be
Or it's a different game, absolutely, entirely. I don't know.
more deliberate and precise. She placed advertisements in the newspaper under a false name and narrative, claiming to be a loving couple who wanted nothing more than to provide a life of love and comfort to a child they could never bear. And many took the bait. Now, this next part gets a little rough, so here's your warning. Almost immediately,
Here's your warning. You don't have to watch the rest of this video. But if you do, just like and subscribe, please. All right, I don't care about the warning.
after receiving payment from unwitting mothers or parents, Amelia Dyer would systematically snuff out the light of these innocent lives. The quicker the end, the more profit for her. It was reported that she would starve, neglect, or strangle
that
her
makes
victims,
sense.
often with a unique seamstress's white tape that became her signature. She was later quoted saying, "I used to like to watch them with the tape around their neck, but it was soon all over with them." Not wanting to
Okay, that was a little dark. Just a little bit.
involve doctors to issue any death certificates like last time, especially since these were due to very obviously unnatural causes, Amelia took matters into her own hands. She would dispose of the bodies by boxing them up tight and hawking them in the River Thames, a system that would keep her secret hidden, but would ultimately lead to her undoing. In 1896, a package was discovered along the banks of the Thames by a local bargeman. Out of curiosity, he eagerly explored its contents, but was struck with horror. The package contained the body of an infant girl and a few bricks that failed in weighing the container down. The police were called and they swarmed in to investigate. A local detective was able to identify faint, legible writing which pointed the police towards Amelia's home.
Always destroy your personal information on your packages. I don't trust, once it's out of my hands, I don't trust it. So if I have important information on my stuff when I'm throwing it out, I get rid of that shit. Straight up. Are going to wind up like her. That was the dumbest way to get caught.
One justifiable home raid later, and mountains of evidence were uncovered linking Amelia to her crimes. These were adoption telegrams, pawn shop tickets for when she sold off the children's clothing, as well as numerous unanswered letters from worried mothers, all enveloped in a stench of decaying remains. Amelia Dyer was formally arrested on April 4th, 1896, and the jury did not mess around. They came back with a unanimous guilty verdict in just 4.5 minutes.
Will the jury find the defendant guilty as fuck?
The combination of the insurmountable evidence gathered from her home and the rate at which she carried out her evil deeds have convinced experts on the matter that Amelia was responsible for the deaths of up to 400 children over the course of 30 years.
American serial killers have nothing on her. Man. Like how many people did Ted Bundy take care of? I don't think he's close to that. I'm pretty sure we have Google. How many people did Ted Bundy kill? Yeah. Ted Bundy confessed to 30 murders, though actual number of victims is widely believed to be higher. Some investigators speculate that it may have killed 100 people or more. One more. What American serial killer has the most kills? Pulling up the stats. Okay. The American serial killer with the most kills is Samuel Little, who the FBI has confirmed most prolific serial killer in U.S. history. 90 murders between... Okay, so you confessed to 93 murders. This lady got 400. I don't care if they're kids. That's a lot.
Making her one of history's most prolific serial killers. For her crimes, Amelia Dyer was hanged on June 10th, 1896, at the age of 58. Hey, want to see a subliminal message? All right, this story actually...
All right, let's see it.
Hey, want to see a subliminal...
Let's see it. You're not supposed to pause to read it. Stop pausing to read it. That defeats the purpose. Peep. Since you paused this, now we need to subscribe or else. Also, comment. We saw everything.
All right, this story actually begins where it...
All right, let's do it. We saw everything. Bam.
ends with the publication of this pamphlet in 1654. This is a criminal pamphlet, sort of the precursor to modern true crime documentaries. These pamphlets would outline the life and crimes of the most notorious criminals of the age. Their original purpose was to serve as a sort of moral instruction, to give the average person a glimpse into the mind of a deranged and troubled criminal. But it actually turned out to be a form of entertainment as people became fascinated with learning about those who would defect from morality. Crazy how some things never change. This profound puddle of piss currently in the center of your screen is one Melchior Hedloff, the self-confessed
Headloff already sounds like a serial killer to me. Headloft, you're okay.
Polish-Lithuanian serial killer hailing from the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. Now, some claim his crimes to be a bit of a stretch, but we'll tear into that later. It was here in the city of Wrocław that Hedloff would make his skid.
City of what? And what did you just present to me?
We'll tear into that later. It was here in the city of Wrocław that
Wrocław. That's not how you spell it. I may be a dumb American, but I hear and I see, and that's not... I'm sure that's how you spell it.
that Hedloff would make his skid mark on history's britches. According to this pamphlet, which seems to be one of the few surviving records of his life, Mini Melky reverse Gaussian blurred into this world as a poor peasant with not a penny to his name. Being a boy of limited financial means, with a papa who was always sick and a mama who was always working, Melchior fled from home and found himself amongst a dodgy division of delinquents for survival. He would join various mercenary groups roaming
Really? 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 What is this?
the countryside after the 30 Years' War, which utterly devastated the region and just threw everything into chaos. It was within these groups that he learned the art of ambushing, the competence of combat, and the forte of firearms. With all of these brand spanking new skills in his repertoire, he turned to a life of crime as mercenary work started to die down. He became what is known as a highwayman, robbers that would lie in wait along
Didn't Johnny Cash have a song about that?
isolated roads for any unsuspecting travelers. You see, back then, especially in unstable times like, say, immediately after a giant war, areas between towns were relatively lawless, and you were on your own to protect yourself as well as your belongings or your loved ones. Once a potential victim was
I always love all the little hidden
on your
things.
own to protect yourself as well as your belongings
The moon up here from Majora's Mask.
or your loved ones. Once a potential victim was spotted, they would leap out from behind a tree or something to jump scare you, potentially prompting you to pop out a retaliatory pine cone.
Give me all your money.
Oh, I fucking got.
You were actually
That shit kind of got me a little bit.
considered lucky if a local bandito took the time to threaten you for your belongings, because most robbers, like Melchior, were not so merciful. Instead, he would position himself behind cover and just stab travelers from a distance with a bullet, carving a notch in his rifle for each victim claimed. He would then loot the bodies and
Stab him in the distance with a bullet. I need to use that later on.
hide them away from the road to avoid any suspicion. This worked for a while to fill his pockets with coin and to slake his thirst for violence, but Hedloff soon entered one of the most dangerous states of mind for a serial killer: boredom. The thrill of just blasting people away and stealing their stuff.
You know, as we always used to say in the Marine Corps, there's nothing more dangerous than a bored Marine. I'm sure the same goes for this guy.
Soon became stale, and since variety is the spice of life, he decided to season the shit out of his future crimes. All of this hit an apex with his most infamous crime. According to this pamphlet,
He had a kid.
Hedloff had
The biggest crime ever.
crossed paths with a young pregnant woman traveling the roads. Allured by the jingle jangle of her coin purse, he offered to provide protection for the woman on her travels lest, some rapscallions decide to mug her and leave her for dead. She agreed. The two proceeded down the path until reaching an inn to lodge for the night.
Good night.
Good night. Hedloff strangled the poor woman, but he wasn't finished. He managed
So he didn't make the kid, but he subtracted the kid from ever existing. Right?
Managed to take the body from the inn to hide his crime. Next to a nearby pond, Hedloff allegedly cut into his victim using his sword and yanked out the miniature unborn child, gobbling it up like a gummy bear. Now, before
I did not need that visual. Oh, it is the gummy bear part that got me. That went darker than I thought.
you say, there's no way that's true. You might be right, but you may be wrong. Why? Because the details in Melchior's
I feel
crime
like I've heard
pamphlet
worse.
came from Melchior himself, albeit through tortured confessions. After years of causing chaos on the highways, he gained a reputation, and locals were not having it. He was eventually arrested after evading capture for some time.
This is an old Lego video game that I used to be heavily addicted to. It's like Lego Island. I forget what it's called. Holy crap, this brings back memories. I used to play the shit out of this game. Please, if you know what I am talking about, just leave a nice little winky face in the comments. That I love this reference.
And since he was found with incriminating evidence already linking him to several recent crimes, the townsfolk already knew he was guilty, and other eyewitnesses confirmed it. In 1654, Melchior Hedloff was sentenced to be drawn and quartered,
Good.
but not before confessing to over 200 murders as he was being tortured. Those confessions were then fabricated into this elaborate and sensational
Americans.
pamphlet. Sure, some of it may have been
Rookie
the
numbers.
over-exaggerated ramblings of a
We need to step
doomed
these
man
numbers.
karmically getting
Don't
his tummy
step
torn
numbers
into,
up. Please don't.
But that's just good storytelling. Oh boy, Peter Niersch. If you've never heard of this guy before,
Peter Niersch. No H. Europeans, you guys need to figure yourself out with your spelling.
you soon will, as is the point of this video. Peter terrorized the German countryside in the 16th century. He was often described as demonic, having been accused of dabbling in black magic and dark sorcery. He began his young adult life as a
Just a
shepherd,
hobby, I'm
but
sure.
feeling sheer sheepishness from his lackluster career, he heard of better opportunities abroad, but would later find himself on the lam. Like Hedloff's story, Germany at the time, within the Holy Roman Empire, was a land of opportunity, not for the righteous and honorable, but for the lowly and treacherous. This was because Peter lived in the aftermath of the German Peasants' War, a political uprising of peasants that was quickly stamped out by the upper aristocrats, resulting in over 100,000 lower-class deaths.
We have always hated poor people, huh?
Resentment for the upper class had boiled over, but the impoverished were proven to be powerless against them. Being born into poverty himself, Peter knew that it was nearly impossible to shake off the shackles of the lower class.
It's been
so
arm
he had
low.
to take matters into his own hands, even if it meant cutting a few throats along the way. Ditching his shepherd's staff for something a bit more pointy around 1566, Peter joined up with bandits and thugs, pillaging villages and tormenting towns. But he soon found himself rising in the ranks and becoming the main mugger in charge. Together, Peter and his band of highwaymen would ransack the countryside,
Happy mask salesman.
robbing any travelers along the roads of the Holy Roman Empire. But he would soon get too carried away with his crimes. Peter, I think he's dead. You can stop stabbing now.
Just let him go.
But he... It wasn't until 11 years later in 1577 that Peter met with any sort of justice, but only momentarily. He was formally
Again, Dark Brotherhood in Oblivion? Pretty sure. Again, could be wrong.
arrested, but managed to give the authorities the slip, fading into darkness once more. His reported crimes and evasiveness gave him quite the reputation. Remember that pamphlet from the last chapter? Well, Peter had his own, and it was much more fantastical. Although the tales contained many real aspects of his misdeeds, they were also vastly exaggerated, telling of Peter's deal with the devil, his diving into the depths of black magic, and even his supernatural ability to shapeshift into dark beasts. It was said that
He was Ganon. I have a Ganon tattoo. Let me see if I can show it. I have lighting is bad. So I got Ganon right there. There's Bowser, and there's Godzilla flying sideways. If you don't know the meme, one second. This tattoo right here is based off of this scene. Anyway, back to the video that we're actually here for.
twisted the hearts of unborn children to cast curses or make himself invisible. Although obviously outlandish, the true root of these claims could be rationalized. His shapeshifting and ability to become invisible is attributed to his incredible skills of disguise and evasiveness. Despite his numerous crimes, he could never seem to be caught, or at least remain caught. His actions gave him widespread notoriety, which would actually be his downfall. One night in September of 1581, after stopping in a local bathhouse, the weary Peter just wanted to soak his sack in peace. He left his belongings with the owner of the bathhouse for safekeeping, as was the norm. But Peter was unknowingly drawing attention, with some other patrons recognizing the man that was bathing his balls in bliss before them. Curious, a few men snuck over to Peter's traveling bag and opened it, as it was also said to contain his dark magic tools. But the men were soon horror-struck with what they found inside: several severed heads and multiple hearts. Although stunned, they quickly...
And this dude was just carrying that around?
apprehended Peter, and he confessed to his crimes. Peter Niersch was formally arrested and tortured over the course of 3 days in the town of Neumarkt, being broken on the wheel. It is said that the heavy wooden wheel was slammed onto him 42 times. Breakfast? Wheel. Lunch? Wheel. Dinner? Have a hearty beef Wheelington. All of this bashing from the wheel basically rendered the man down to a battered blob, but he was somehow still alive. Don't worry, they had a solution. Peter was quartered. Through his various confessions while getting dunked on by a wheel,
if there is a favorite medieval execution method of mine, drawn and quartering, seal of approval.
Peter Niersch was reportedly responsible for 544 deaths, including 24 pregnant women and their unborn children. He was pulled apart by the people at age 41.
How have I've actually never heard of any of these people, and between there were 2 women and the 2 men, we're easily over 2,000 people between those 4 people. Dear God.
Hey, I know that popping in from time to time with my real self often breaks the immersion of this channel, but I wanted to take some time to genuinely thank each and every one of you fellas and fellettes. It takes a lot to make these types of videos, so
I bet.
Yeah, thank you all for sticking around. And if you want to watch more content, check that out right there. And as always,
Will do. So yeah, that was Chat History. There he is right there. Or, sorry, I was on OBS. There he is right there. Make sure you're subscribed because I am. It's an amazing channel. And we'll save it for next time. All right. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe on this one. And I'll see you guys in the next one.